Welcome back. I wanted to talk about true cost. This is the most important part about looking at what your current rates are versus what other competitors are offering. In basically all of the smoke and mirrors is really massaging all these different numbers, kind of like the mortgage industry. That's why the mortgage industry came out with the APR by law. They had to disclose what the true cost was of a mortgage because people were burying fees and turning things upside down and twisting them inside out so that it confused the end user. So that's the same premise that I take with credit card processing. I deal with a lot of large volume merchants, and quite honestly, they just don't have time to deal with the shenanigans, as I'll call them, from door-to-door salesmen of credit card processors. So let me give you a little mathematical representation of how this whole thing works. So I always say true cost is everything. Nothing else matters. Of course, service is another aspect, but that's kind of comparing apples to apples on a different side. But if we took a typical $10,000 a month statement for, like, let's say a hair salon, your typical cost right now, I can almost guarantee you, is going to be somewhere between $270 to about $350. And the reason why I know that is because if you're using a bank to process credit cards, they have markups because they have brick and mortar, they have employees, they have sales representatives that they have to pay, and then plus they have to make money for the bank. What we do is we actually are a direct reseller for Visa, MasterCard, Discover, and we go through a network called Global Payments. And so we are basically competing directly with banks without any of the overhead that a bank would typically have. So banks got to cover their salaries, insurance, mortgage, health benefits, everything else, and pay their employees, plus the bank has to make a big profit. So from my experience, I know that most people are probably at about 2.7 to 3.5% true cost. Take total fees divided by total sales. The key thing is to understand what fees are. Fees are the total amount that was taken out of your checking account at the end of each month. So that's very important to look on your statement to know exactly how much was really taken out. So if it shows one number, most of the time they're only showing you a part of one number. They're never showing you like the whole number in one nice package usually. Sometimes they do. But what you want to take a look at is MasterCard, Visa, and Discover sales only. Pull out your American Express so you don't mix the two because they're on two different networks. So you take your total cost, and let's say that this customer only takes MasterCard, Visa, Discover. They are at probably $286, for example. What that means is that's a 2.86% true cost. Doesn't matter what the rates are for qualified, mid-qualified, non-qualified, whatever the story is, doesn't matter. The only thing we care about, 2.86 at the end of the month. How can I lower that? Straightline typically comes in at about $190 to $240 a month. $190 would be for somebody who uses a lot of debit cards, such as, for example, a salon that does kids' haircut. They might do a $15 average ticket. So with a lower average ticket, you end up using a debit card. And on these debit cards, those costs to use those cards are cheaper. So if you think about it, if you used the cheapest thing all month long, theoretically, the expenses of that cheap thing would be low cost. And that's kind of where this 190 comes in. 65% of all transactions today are in debit cards, which is good. And that's increasing. So on the other side is the commercial side. Business cards are more expensive because, of course, you got taxes and everything else built in there, and commercial cards are just more expensive than everything else you do in life. Phones, everything. That's typically why you might see like a 2.3, 2.4% true cost at the end of the month on a mail order, internet type order of business, commercial, business-to-business things. Everybody's using a commercial card. So that would equate to about 1.9% to about 2.4%. And out of all of our merchants, everybody's within that range. There's nobody above 2.4%. So the way you take that is 286, you take total fees divided by total sales times 100. All right? So 286 divided by 10,000 times 100 equals 2.86%. That's how you calculate true cost. So if I can save you 0.5%, usually more than that, then that's huge. So the way that it works is Visa cards go through a network. A network pulls and pushes the money from banks, from one bank to another. And so here's the big picture of what's happening. let's say I have a Bank of America credit card that was used. It's just a standard card, no rewards card, no business card, just a standard no perks Visa. That cost is 1.54%. That's what Bank of America takes home. That's how much. That's why they give you a Bank of America credit card. Every sporting goods store, your college, everybody wants you to have their credit card. The reason is because they want to charge you. They want to make 1.54%. So they're going to make 1.54% on a, let's call it one transaction for $10,000. They'll make $154 on that transaction, plus 10 cents for that one item. They call it per item. And then Visa takes a tiny, tiny little slice of that, and it's basically 0.0925%. So it's a sliver of money. It's tiny, tiny bits, pennies on each transaction. The ISO, Independent Sales Office, and that's what we are. We compete with banks, and that's what banks are. They're independent sales offices for processors. Together with the processor plus the ISO, all bundled into one, this is our little slice of the pie, and it's actually even a lot smaller than this than on the diagram here. It's not quite to proportion, but we take a tiny, tiny little slice on that piece, and that's how we make money. We make money on basically a few cents per transaction and a couple basis points on top of the transaction. So all of these costs are fixed. Nobody can get those cheaper than the next guy. Every single credit card processing company, processor in the country, there's mainly about 8 major ones, we all pay the exact same 1.54%. Everybody pays the exact same. There's no way around it. The only thing that you can control is what you're willing to pay above interchange. These are called interchange rates. This Visa and these rates here are called interchange rates. Each one of these is a little bit different. Like, for example, a debit card might be 0.095%. I'm sorry, 0.95% for a debit card, and a commercial card might be 2.2%. Either way, it is what it is. You can't control it. You can't ask somebody, hey, don't give me your commercial card, give me your debit card, right? So you can't control those things. So the only thing you can control is what you're willing to pay here, all right? So this is where we come into play, where we do what's called interchange plus pricing. We take cost, we add a percentage to it, and basically that's your rate. It couldn't be more simple. There's no shell games with qualified, mid-qualified, non-qualified, rewards, downgrades, all that kind of stuff. What those guys are trying to do is put 100 different credit card types into 3 shells, technically, and they're shell gaming you. The reality is you're not going to get qualified rates on everything, and that's how they make money, is because they're sticking those other fees under shell number 2, 3, and 4 called mid-qualified, non-qualified rewards. And basically, and then they have another business one sometimes also. So basically, that's how we make money. Fair, straight, honest, forward, cost plus. Just like in a retail environment, you buy something for $10, you turn around, you sell it for $10.50 or $11 or something like that, your margin is simple. That, in a nutshell, is how credit card processing works. To learn more, check out the link for interchange rates. And those are all publicly posted at visa.com, mastercard.com, everywhere. So those are not anything that's not revealed. And you can go out there and see for yourself. Stay tuned for more. We've got lots of good stuff.